Today marks the third straight day of protests against threats of federal action in Chicago, with that city's mayor dismissing Trump administration claims that sending troops there would decrease crime. In a New York Times op-ed, Mayor Brandon Johnson writes, sending in the National Guard is the wrong solution to a real problem. Over the weekend, the president posted what appeared to be an AI-generated meme inspired by the film Apocalypse Now, and he captioned it, "Chicago about to find out why it's called the Department of War," a city he just said should take his help.
You try and reason with people like in Chicago with the governor and the mayor. You try and reason with them, and it's like you're talking to a wall. It just doesn't. I assume it's just a political ideology. They're not stupid people. Must be an ideology that's just buried in their head, and you can't do a damn thing about it.
Joining me now, NBC Shaquille Brewster, who is in Chicago for us. Eugene Robinson is a Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist and MSNBC political analyst. So the leaders in Chicago, Gene, they just can't be reasoned with. So what do you see as the purpose of that meme from Apocalypse Now, which, of course, is a take on I love the smell of napalm in the morning?
You know, it's trolling. He's trolling everybody and being provocative and getting everybody all worked up about.
So just a scare tactic?
Yes, it's to scare everybody and to show how big and bad he is. That's his modus operandi. That's what he's spending a lot of time doing these days in this presidency is memeing. So it's ridiculous. It is threatening. It threatens war against the third biggest city in the country, which is an extraordinary and appalling thing for a president of the United States to do. But it is the kind of thing that unfortunately we're used to from Donald Trump.
So let me read to you a post that was just put on X. Official post, Gene, by Homeland Security. DHS is launching Operation Midway Blitz in honor of Katie Abraham, who was killed in a drunk driving hit-and-run car wreck caused by criminal illegal alien Julio Kuchelbal in Illinois. It will target the criminal illegal aliens who flocked to Chicago because they knew Governor Pritzker and his sanctuary policies would protect them and allow them to roam free on American streets. What should we expect from Operation Midway Blitz, do you imagine? And do you think he was feeling some pressure to justify what he said he was going to do?
I do think there was pressure to try to justify it, and so they located a case that they want to highlight. I guess. I think what we should expect is similar to what we saw in Los Angeles. When all this federal manpower, person power, is used more in immigration raids and immigration-related activities than in anything else, and not in actual crime fighting. As you know, the National Guard has been deployed here in Washington for some time, Washington being a federal city, and our mayor having really no choice in the matter. And there, a lot of the troops are mulching, putting mulch in the parks around Washington, because what are they to do? I have some visitors in town this weekend, and we went down to the mall to go to the Smithsonian, and we saw a lot of National Guard troops just walking around an area where there is no crime. There is no crime problem on the National Mall. So they did succeed in towing away an illegally parked food truck, but that's all they did, and there were a lot of them.
Okay, so that brings me to you, Shaq, and what you're seeing and hearing on the ground in Chicago.
Well, you're hearing a lot of pushback, Chris, a lot of fear and even some anger. If you talk about what we just saw here, it was another, you mentioned, third day of protests against the threat of sending more ICE agents or more federal agents for that increased immigration operations here in Chicago and the threat of National Guard. But you're also hearing that pushback from Chicago's political leaders. Mayor Brandon Johnson saying the meme that you were just talking about was beneath the dignity of the president. You had J.B. Pritzker, the governor, saying that this is something that should be taken seriously, saying that the president is threatening war on a major American city. And at issue here, Chris, is not just the opposition to those increased ICE operations that are likely to come, that the governor has been warning that he's hearing is going to happen, is imminent here in Chicago, but it's also the threat that you're hearing of the National Guard. I want you to listen to what an attendee at this protest, how she put it and why she's so opposed to what she's hearing from the president.
What is he going to do? Who is he going to protect? He's not going to protect us. I see some of these kids walking around here. They need help. But what is he doing? He want to deport everybody.
Now, I should note, I talked to the governor's office earlier this morning, and while this was before that tweet that you just read, they said that while they were monitoring some situations of federal agents arresting people over the course of the weekend, a handful, as it was put to me, they have not seen that surge that was expected just yet. But of course, that tweet that you just read is forecasting something much different, Chris.